Whoa.
So okay, yeah, that's fine. Like you know the power is in that those is sometimes need to 아니 가서 경경 전에다 인생 전에 아까 전에 신라 차도 지기요 말했다 이게 더 스스로 윤제야가 변조야가 스스로 수고야 스스로 야가 된 여러 봐 텔레야다 컴퓨테이션 컴퓨테이션 수고 맞다지 가서 다도는 잘했을 봐 다도 지기요 말했어 가전에 시에 봐 이 차도시나 스스로 센트로 다와 어디 가전이지
Alright, is this good? Can everybody hear? Let's put it here. Is that alright? How's people on Skype? They're all happy? Yep. Okay, cool. So we're talking a little bit about this, like this competitive mind, right? This kind of jealousy and so forth. So there's two ways to think about it. There's in terms of the faults and in terms of the qualities, right? So what you need to block out is this mind of jealousy, right? This attitude of competitiveness and jealousy. So even though you might be looking to increase your positive qualities, like develop your positive qualities, and this might mean you might need to study and in a way a certain to improve you need to study hard and work hard, but then you shouldn't get into this kind of jealous attitude with others.
다디 이 연대에 잘했어. 그래서 야구 들려도 많이 들려 쳐도 그랬어. 야 근데 양치 상무 연대에 잘했는데 상무 다해 와. 그래서 로전 야구 차래. 그래서 로전 야구 차대 많이 양치도 그랬어요. 그 연대에 차네요. 소소 센데. 야 고론데 신배기 고론체. 아니 아마제로래다 아마제로 미디로전야 것도 미디 벤저야 것도 미디 labs or successful lab 도 많이 들려쳐도 그래. 그래서 미팅 거 있어 봐. 나한테 내 상담 쇼가 왔다고. 네가 상담해 줬어.
Right. So rather than getting into a mind of jealousy, when you see the qualities of others, this should be like an inspiration to you, right? To develop your own qualities. So if they're, for example, a good like student or they've studied well, then you should feel motivated to think, yes, I should do the same. I should study well as well. I should learn. I should study. So with this positive motivation, as long as then this kind of pride becomes more like a self-confidence, like it becomes a positive quality, right? So when you see others who study well, who are successful and so forth, then this should give you the confidence or this kind of pride to be able to achieve yourself. Admire. Okay. So you have to admire the positive.
야외죠. 상당. 야 누구죠? 네가 딸 보스 네그리 네가 이거 냥벌 된는 제데 다 내려와. 수수당 찍고 내가 찍고 있는 데래야. 나 저걸로 된데시도. 코로나로 된데 요나시 많이 치토를 했어. 봐. 먼저 찍고래 먼저 된데 찍고래 먼저. 먼저 왜냐면 이 찍고래 먼저 저거 찍고래 내가 찍고래. 근데 치토는 많이 치토. 그래서 지도에 대한 알지도. 내 미션을 편도체지 있어. 단단하고 준주기 나도 전주선배님이 지금이다. 군론디 단단하고 다시 냠제 보면 계시고라. 군론 신병이 군론디 니와 고유인다. 한다디 냠발레 디심 세디 뭐스 가져네시 죽전에 답변나 수수다 냠베 지로와 다다 냠바 되는 지금 도신 관계랑 일 하고 있지 다그 녀단 꾸데니 저 얘기하는 것도 쓰다 수수다 냠베 이제 릭도 냠바들 콘소에 녀바이야 꾸티야 아니 왜냐 오면야 근데 요이나 콘소나 시대 마에 시도 그래 말에 녀바이야 말에 꾸토야 말에 근데 요와데 마에 루트고래 그래서 직관했을 때 두야디 미션을 편도시야지 땅에 두초를 상담이나 데 두존에 계시다. 냠벌 템바스디 디 두존에세.
So we're looking here at verse 146.
이걸로 템바도 냠벌.
Yeah, so the way of practicing after meditation, and it's Nikula Timba. Oh, here we go. Must be 147. Oh, yeah, sorry, 147. So the way of meditating on contemplating for the equal, right? Then this has 4 subheadings: competing with gain and praise, competing with the renown of qualities, competing with a number of qualities, and being happy about bringing others harm. So when we talk about the first one, competing with gain and praise, then we have this verse 147, which goes, in order that I may excel, he who is regarded as equal with me, I shall definitely strive to attain material gain and honor for myself, even by such means as verbal dispute. So in this time, we're looking at what this talks about, what qualities to establish, right? So there's 2 parts. There's what to establish and what to abandon. So looking at what to establish, right? When those who are equal with us, just friends and co-workers and so forth, then when we see, fellow students in the same class or something like that, when we see them doing well and them succeeding, then we should be motivated to succeed as well. But the key thing here, from the point of view of this text, because it's dealing with how to develop bodhicitta, it should always be done with this motivation to benefit others. So in this practice, first, when we equalize and then when we equalize self for others, so these beings that we see as equal, we should always treat with respect. And when they do something positive, we should feel this confidence that we would do the same, and we would establish the same qualities and perform the same positive actions.
competition yewe shen pamba chiya chide kulon shen be me che je ta be when you lose se joro da dinde kulon
okay you win I lose this or other way around
no tanda de gajo ne shere gajo ne shen de ani nyambala konsola nyeba da kudra shen ai asho ko dinde che de bi na
okay
di jigyo mares da de shegyo ta gajo ne she dujo ne shen be ne shen pendo che na che
okay
신변의 상로 매워지 란진지기 상로이나 지기요 말해서 다시 시고 상대 당 컴퓨테이션 지기요 말해서 란진지요나 이 동네용 거라
okay so let's talk about what needs to establish. Then what needs to be removed or what needs to be stopped is this competitiveness or this mind seeking praise and gain, these types of mind, right? So with regards to those kind of jealousy and these competitive thoughts and this praise and gain, that's what needs to be abandoned, seeking that. And then what needs to be established is to benefit others. So in order to benefit others, then you work hard to develop your positive qualities, right? So the key here is to the motivation, right? In order to benefit others. So we need to abandon this attitude of self-cherishing. That's the key thing here.
근데 얘네 연대는 좀 봤어요. 다니와 내가 그들을 좀 봐. 다 연대 수수다 냠바들 연대 타고를 좀 봤어. 연대 타고서 연대가 좀 담는다 게라 좀 잘해줘. 진에다 연대는 직된 걸로 세워 가면서 시행이 연대 수년도 유차선으로 진에다 수술라 연대요나 디 아니 직된을 타고 세다 담는다 된대 치고었다. as missionary ne dena shi chewres missionary yunde yoine kozo yunde yago di yago yore stam nyinda yoai kozo ya ta kasore yago 인카리지로 지어라 어데 내가 저거를 윤대하고 열 아니 콜로 준다 야 양가 야게 용도야 치 콜로 팬도 용으로 다 근데 제위나 아니 담 윤대하고 열에 뭐 근데 열에 밀려야 세버 체제 근데 다 냠바를 템바스야 돼 수술라 먼저 수술에 보고 열어 수술 먼저 담 년다 윤대하고 있나 디바시제네 담 년다 하고 있나 가고요 담 미스이는 만차때 최바 난다이나 담이라고 말하면서 만차 담즈나 팬 네임로 알아 담 텔레카고요 수술 거든나 수술 조고들에 연대들에 있는 데 고고요 대파 미신다라 나 조고 연대데
Okay.
굿 퀄리티세 산산은 계제데 셰고요
텐션의 콘서트 가기
그래서
들어.
만에
Okay.
콘서 양자디 배서 망고 치고 그러면
네네네. 오케이, 들어봤어.
근데 네 연대 두전에 셰고다
Right. So then we move on to the next verse 138, which is the heading is competing with renown of qualities, right? And the verse goes, "By all means I shall make clear to the entire world all the good qualities I have, but I shall not let anyone hear of any good qualities he may have." So again, this verse can be looked at in two ways: what we need to establish and what we need to abandon. So talking about what we need to establish, then we need to appreciate and encourage those. This is also talking about those equal to us who have quality, who have positive qualities. So when we see the positive qualities of others, we need to recognize, we need to appreciate that, and we need to encourage others. So it's important that we offer, praise or say positive things about others when they have positive qualities and when they do positive things. And the reason being is because, people appreciate that. People like to have their positive attributes recognized. They like to have this kind of almost like a fame, but having a positive, reputation. So this, if we do it in the right way, this should act as an inspiration for others to continue to develop their positive qualities.
다데 먼저 다 지대 추제 나와요. 이땀 이다 미비절라 데르다니 하고 유나 문에 전에 있던 꿀롱 야구 꿀롱데 신면체 그래서 야고레스 라고에디 디 꿀롱이 데데나 포토로 당고요. 다데 지대 추제데 데데 말로 땀땀 땀되게 네 그래서 야라 지수 민청부 차야 아니 지수 벤저 몽고라야 야면은 코로 몽고라야 데데 꿀롱데 유나데 제 지대 추제라는 데 지기요 말이라 뭐라 이나 단다 디데 말이고 꿀롱데라 신라 펜도 상을 열어 신배 꿀롱 요 인자 아니 찍내 되리 니네 스스 저골라 야가 열어 야가 여디 열에 라는데 준차비요 말아 디디요 다한다
So, there may be a bit of confusion because when we talk about the 8 worldly dharmas, we talk about fame and renown in there. But the difference here basically comes down, the primary difference being the motivation, right? So if our motivation is the benefit of others, then this becomes quite a different thing to what we talk about in the 8 worldly dharmas. Because in the 8 worldly dharmas, the motivation is always about developing something for ourselves, so improving, getting fame, reputation, in order that we might feel better about ourselves or something like that. So the motivation there is very self-cherishing based, right? Whereas if the motivation is to benefit others, then it becomes a completely different thing. Especially, when we have friends and colleagues that do have qualities better than us or just have positive qualities, then of course we need to recognize that, and of course we need to acknowledge that, but making sure the motivation is to benefit others.
어디 다디네 숨바디 레베 남랑라 참바스도 레베 남랑 다 이게 니에와도 굿디 멤버 지고시야 근데 남랑 신다 야외 쳐 레고스디 야외로 와 야외 쳐 신다 그 참이야 뭐 배나 기지시 여러 스페나 말아서 가르스나 다기 교양 가지시 다기 주기들은 시디에 참다 다디 니에와 니시 다니 구기들은 나 당고 책이데 말아서 뒤주 같이 수수기 견 춘주주는 마 배샤로 봤어 견마 배샤
Okay.
미시다 견이나 파세 매제 can't 수수 교는 뭐 배셔요. 디 체니 가려운 거랬다. 예와다 고대다 아니 딘데 연구를 해서 디 연구 말아봤어. 수수 교마베 미신다가 교 요래라나 디게 수수라 민 페머스 수수 민 정보 차야 수수라 냠바라야 근데 고대스도 거야 고래라 딘데 연구 말해서 이나 나도 디 러비어 같이 러버라 딘데 러비어 말해서 왔다 딘데 러비어데 간 팬도 그냥 요 말했어 딘데 러비어 이나로
So we move on to the next verse, which is 149, and so the heading to this one is competing with a number of qualities. So this is basically kind of counting how many more ways you're more awesome than somebody else, right? So it's about pronouncing your own qualities and hiding your faults and talking about the faults of others. So it goes here, also I shall hide my faults. I will be venerated, but not he. I will find a great deal of material gain. I will be honored, but he shall not. Right, so this is our tendency. Our tendency is to try and cover up our own faults. So like this is some big secret, right? And then we always go and talking about the faults of others and how much better we are than others and how useless everybody else is, or especially a particular person we feel competitive with. And the motivation for this is this praise and gain, right? So we, in our minds, somehow we think this will make people think we're awesome and the other person, like, not. But in reality, this doesn't work out this way, It doesn't actually make us, like, to become really renowned and famous. In fact, it has the opposite effect. Most people, if you're constantly criticizing others, don't really respect you that much, right? But so even though it does the complete opposite of what we want it to do, still we go around doing this. So that's a little bit strange, right? So we have to kind of be aware of this and stop hiding our own faults and pronouncing the faults of others. La? Okay. So
Did chen susula nyambara susu minching bucha chama 근데 제요 말씀 근데 셰테비나 이나가서 셰그래 아 맞지 디디 베드 하베 디요 디디 베드 하베 디요 디디 디베 보징 요르스냐 디베드 지지 쇼고 할레지 하고 디퍼런트 chen 셰그래서 펜도 가자 잉글리시가 meaningless 그거
yeah, meaningless.
제요 말 이나가서 디 제거 디 랍제디 저거를 됐는데 디식된다 되게 쟤는 통다 요 말했어. 상대리 만들었어. 다들 수수수수게 껴는데 상무당. 디메로 간데서 디상무당. 랍제디.
So that's in terms of what we need to abandon. Now, in terms of what we need to establish, then when we're not like having abandoned talking about the faults of others, we should definitely not do that. But then we need to start to look at our own, rather than always looking outside and talking about the faults of others, start to look at our own faults and work with those, right? So generally we kind of talk about everything everybody else does wrong and blame everybody else and, and talk about, oh, this person's bad habits and that person's bad habits. But in reality, when we think about it, like, what's the actual benefit from that? If it actually made us become really like famous and everybody thought we were awesome, then maybe there'd actually be some benefit. But in reality, it doesn't do that. So even what we're trying to achieve from it, we don't get, right? So, there's not much point if you're always thinking about others, oh, what they do wrong, their bad habits, oh, this person's bossy, this person's a shopaholic, and so forth. When you actually look at it, this talk is actually completely meaningless, right? There's no kind of reason to do it. There's no benefit for doing it, but still we do it. So we need to stop looking at it in that way and start to actually internalize and look at our own faults and work with those.
다 먼저 먼저 쌤디 장난 쇼자다 봐. kumshi 장난 줘. kumshi 합의를 열어. 다디 다 기실라데 다 베제나데 데시도 날 kumshi 데지 여다 날 까고도. 디시에나 까도 말했어. 디가 더 말했어. 다는 가르쳐 그래. 타고 쌤을 내가 신다 주고 그랬어. 쌤들.
Okay, yeah.
쌤들 내가 신다 갖고 그래서 미두서 말로 편도 첨부를 해서 빼거리 첨부. 당연히 이게 만지다 정말 겨워가지 켈리니 냐냐로 봐. 대 겨워 망고랑 편도 셔. 저는 미래에게 수수 아마추어로 장가요 장가자도요 미치기 내 아마추어 같은데 제가 아마추어 그냥 내 말아오지 저런 게 아마추어라. 먼저 장가자도요 장가자도 맞다 근데 미치기다 샘진찌기 먼저 아마추어게 먼저 소했죠. 장가자도요 다 딘데게 편도에 첨부지 요리 상무단도 있나 아니 미드도 말라 편도에 첨부 쇼저래 상당은 아니 미디를 가야다 미디를 저월해야다 아니 미디 연된다야다 딘데게 상당되면은 그 란슈기 단기 다 이런 곳에 나오다 지금 미디 자지면 제저러 이게 란슈기 가로 그러와 딱디 야아마디 다 베제나데 야오 말 라데나 심디 데바 루르스고
So, unfortunately, we all have these kind of habit to talk negatively about others and to look at the faults of others, right? So, sometimes people get I've got this habit, I'm always talking nonsense about others and I need to stop it, right? And follow the advice of the text and need to stop it. But just thinking this alone doesn't actually stop the habit in itself. You need to give the mind like something else to focus on or a different direction to go in. So how do we actually go about this? How do we work with this? Well, if we start to recognize the kindness of others, right? If we see how people have been sentient beings have been exceptionally kind to us, not just once, but countless times over many lifetimes, right? They've all been our mother countless times for many lifetimes. And Geshe says, so, he's been all of your guys' mothers like countless times, and mine too, I guess. So, I guess that's good news for us, right? So anyway, there's this, when you start to recognize, how much benefit all these beings have given to you, how much love and kindness they've shown you, then you start to develop love and kindness and respect for other beings. So, and then when you have this attitude towards others, then naturally the gossip and the nonsense will stop. So, this is how, if you want to change your habit, then this is the way to go about it. Okay. So, it's not merely about just reading the text and going, oh, that sounds pretty cool, right? The point of it all is actually to relate this advice to your own experience and your own practice. That's the point of all of this.
교연당 수술을 내와당 근데 다니도 들어봐. 아니 연행 차 줘제. 답에 야고든데 저 내가 야고 쳐 생겨서 먼저 딜라고 야고를 생겨서 나한테 야 잡을 소식 야 잡을 소식 생겨서 로 생겨서 먼저 로마사든지죠. 이 말은 야자. 그 교연의 차들 상마다 연행 차들 상마다 야고를 했는데 저거를 답에
Like encouraged order?
encourage le tawara encourage le da sing there was the there was an option to
Okay. All right, so then we get on to verse 150, and it's being happy about bringing others to harm. So the verse goes, "For a long time I shall look with pleasure at his being made inferior. He will become the laughing stock of all, regarded amongst everyone as an object of scorn and derision." So, if we're constantly looking at others' faults and feeling happy about, when they do something wrong, make a mistake or whatever faults we perceive they may have, and we're constantly criticizing others, teasing others, putting them down, then in reality they then start to kind of feel like negatively about themselves, right? If we're constantly criticizing and teasing others in a harsh way. So we need to kind of reverse this, and there's this kind of way when we recognize the qualities of others, and basically we acknowledge and we encourage, so we encourage them to develop their positive qualities. Yeah.
다디 이래다 딜라 탑시에 가면 되지. 답변은 딘데라 상단에하고도 상상. 다 미피저 교통용 거. 교통 미수저 수저라야. 교통저 딘데 제 수저를 담는데 라베이나. 아니
뭐랑라.
아니 계시 남산 수저 삼는 단지 계시 미리 나이나 나 가르치더래 삼단.
오케이.
그 나라 수저 직두자라래 데라. 나도 남산 같이 콘도 사그러와. 얘네 걸은 거는 계시 미미디 아이나 이게 딜라 계속 가르치세요. 내가 가르치래 타조 가르치세요. 상단은 미디라 강해요 하고 그런데. 딜라 강해지 연애다. 나라 직두자라고 요래. 또뭐 마가오 치료요래. 마루마 치료요래. 그걸 강해지 연애다. 미스이나 삼바마지에 있는 네게티브 통용으로 메시지 지금 삼바지에 있는 네게티브 통용 말아.
So, I don't know what happened over there. Something happened. I was totally fixated on the pad. I don't know. Nothing happened. Nothing. I don't know. It was news to me. I was like, "What?" I only see this piece of paper this size. That's it.
That's good.
Okay. So then we need what's a method to develop it, right? Well, what's a method to stop criticizing others and start to kind of encourage them? And we need to think when others are behaving in a way that we seem to think is inappropriate or not so positive. Like if they're criticizing you or they're angry with you, you got to think about it, why they're doing it. So basically, if I was in their situation, right, like put yourself in their shoes, for example, is probably the English analogy, right? So if you can see things from their perspective, basically, then it changes everything because you start to recognize the difficulties that they're going through, right? So, for example, if somebody's criticizing you or angry at you or, making your life problematic, deliberately out to get you, it's only because of their negative experience, right? Their negative attitudes or their suffering, basically. Because if their mind was completely peaceful and happy, then I don't think they'd wake up in the morning thinking who can I go yell at today, right? It's like basically because of their difficulties or their suffering that they're behaving in this way. So we need to acknowledge and recognize that.
단도 이제 지위나 다시년지에 상으로 담배이나 미신다 마rum바치제 스스로 마rum바치 내버려 계획이나 네 스스로 단행시제로 당연히 봐 내가 내려만 개베체 내가 개베이나
Mm.
미디 아니 소소 스팀 다가라나다 다시 탐 샤샤비나
Tonglen.
다 동네로 다시 냠제 적으로다
Okay.
미비저기 아니 지 가서 쌤 마른 거체 아니 유용 오파 인데젠다 수수 될 가오공 미지 수수 마른 거 제베나 가오공 강행에마 랭엠바 제베 데부지 파르다 그러 랭엠베 데부팅 데부레 아마 나래 미신달 파비지 두자 제어레 다디 말라츠 두자 제어레 다디 가오공 다 빼야
Okay.
그래
The lead doctor.
내 두자 데부디 수수를 미래 아니 미신달 가시 그러 그 잡종에 거미 조회를 그 덮지세 되네 가르라나 개요 말했다. 상다지 아니 미션이 강에서나 동해에서나 이 수수수련에서 제 미션들로 제거지 거 미션을 동해 마야야지 신라 강에 마야야 신지지기 들로들레비나 아니 먼저 데데라야 당연시도 와 강에 미 직직두자라비나 강에 가르대비나 먼저 된다 söba 동해 단랭이 söba 세죠.
Okay.
sö바나 söba 숨어요. 동해 단랭이 söba 세. 동해 때서 중요한 게 sö도. 아니 쌤 두고 말 어디 네, 다 민노가 제니들 소소를 편도보다 sö바라고도 어디 근데 가오공도 되게.
So when we do this like practice of equalizing ourselves with others, right? Then, or equalizing exchanges, sorry, did jigere, right? Or nyampare?
냠.
Okay, sorry. So just equalizing self with others, right? Then when we meet somebody like who we find particularly disturbing to our mind, we might find particularly irritating and annoying, then we should be like, yes, that's awesome, right? We get to meet this person and we get this this opportunity to like practice acceptance or practice patience, right? Because we recognize that whatever we're experiencing is actually like the results of our previous non-virtuous karma, right? So whatever's happening, whatever difficulties, problems we're facing is simply the result of the karma we created in the past. So whatever they've said or whatever they do doesn't become a problem, it becomes a benefit to us. And when we really kind of are sincerely practicing this cherishing others, right, or sincerely engaging in the practice of cherishing others, then every difficulty just becomes an opportunity to practice the patience of accepting suffering.
네. 나도 냠바지. 나도네 멤버가 맞게 봅니다. 멤버. 냠바도 살아.
Okay.
냠바도 다 멤버. 멤버스 스스로 내단 줘야될 야. 맞게 봐 아시. 나도 맞게 보면 넘버스. 망부시 사지 찬신 전주세마 나래 연대 체하고 왔다 무슨 맞게 보면 넘버스로 맞게 보면 넘버.
Oh, okay. We've got a few more in there.
십자 니시.
okay.
420.
Yep. Yeah, I got it.
멤버 맞게. 또 녀몬 디안다 다단지 현지 주시 진실다. 데이터 트네시라고. 소리 나지 냠만 지스러. 나 찬신 하지스나 다 딘데지 빼나. 멤버 딜레 다자 나다 윤데 딘데지 야가 있어. 멤버지네. 아니 아 쳐봐 야가요. 셔럽 야가요. 마수 야가요. 너냐봐요. 딘데 차네. 네 빼나 찍으러 빼나 윤데 찍 상담다나 미신달에 수수 하고 연구로 와. 다디 상담되는 아재 기용으로. 당연히 쳐봐 찍어래. 셔럽 찍어래. 수로 너냐봐요. 냠배 참만 거여로냐. 아재 기용도 미신 아데데 개면은 나 하고 있어 상담으로. 코당은 찍고만 거여로 가서 쳐봐 찍고 임바 삼바 찍고 셔럽 수 너냐봐 딘데기 아니 냠바 찍고 챙겨드는 망고요. 디인주상가라 예 아니 피절에 나라가 생아 얘기 남바 디 매우 차고 왔어. 어디 시고래.
So dissimilar tongue, that's only number.
한번 아jel레 데 페나 해 가르는 페나 안도 나 배장아 야가 요선 나 아제지라.
Right.
먼저 미지거래.
Ale.
먼저 디드라 먼저 디지거래.
Okay. Yeah.
근데 지고만 거 열어. 이제 삼단데 네 마드스라 당기 아제디 수수심디 알레라. 아니 지고 삼단은 그
Alaso. Right.
근데
Right. Okay, so now we get into verse 151. So there's a few headings to go through here. So the main heading. Whoops. The main heading is the way of meditating on pride for the lower, and then this has subheadings of the aspect of meditating on pride, the benefits of meditating on it, the way of acting upon having done the meditation, contemplating the disadvantages of lacking such a pride. So then the first one of these, the aspect of meditating on pride, goes, it is said that this deluded one is trying to compete with me, but how can he be equal with me in learning, intelligence, form, class, or wealth? So basically, in a situation where we might perceive we have qualities that are superior to others, right? Like let's say we think we have more wisdom or we have like better clothes or whatever nonsense it might be, right? Because of that, we think that then pride can arise, thinking, oh, I'm better than this person, and we look down on them and we think that we're better than them, right? But in reality, what we need to recognize is that in many ways, we're actually equal, right? Like we're all human beings and, we have all, we're equal in many ways. And in the ways that, like, we're all human beings, we're basically all looking for happiness, not looking for suffering, and so forth. And when we start to recognize the ways in which we're equal, this kind of brings us down to the same level, right? Rather than thinking how much more awesome we are. So Geshe used the example of him, right? Like compared to me, he might think, he's studied like scripture more than I have, right? And then he might arise pride, right? Thinking he's more awesome than me. But then when you look at the ways in which we're the same, that we're all human beings, we're all striving in the same way, looking for happiness, not wanting suffering, then this brings us down and puts us on an equal kind of playing field, or makes us equal. And then this is an antidote to the pride.
manzu dagmare koda nga shen nga yagayo nga su yagayo nga la besha mangayo nga yagayo nga la yunde nga yagayo sia tinde ya samdang lo so semdi ya sengdo so shenbe chiya chidro shen la pendo chiya chide ngo lobjo yago chogure kware da ko subu thango gore tinde goro 사실 그래서 나도 치도 말해 나도 됐지 민조는 아주 집어래 다 그게 무슨 아니 밤에 배디 레로체 대ኛ가요 이치요 말 될래요 맞게 공부했어요 먼저 간지스네 대고 말이야 야야 심야 맞게 제죠 밑에 나야가요 연대 나한테 지어서 이제 상로데 당제다 간다 스스스 그 셈이야다 가서 그래 다 디자인 누저기 다 모던 워즈라고 있는 에너지 소울다야 스스스 소울 빌드 업 제거다 right 이제 거는 아직 탑시 만트니세 야베 나제 친구 체제 콘로제로 지금도 맞아 야베 마심 흉제 베 녀도 레지 차도는 야 생도 어디죠 레지 차도 생되지 야 나게 공부해서
Okay. So, there comes also a situation where you might feel like disheartened or depressed or something like that, feeling that you can't do something, you can't achieve something. At this point, you need to develop a certain type of pride, which, like the word Nagyal in Tibetan, basically covers both pride and self-confidence, from my understanding. So it's more like the positive aspect of this is to develop the self-confidence, right? So if you think, I can't achieve this, I can't benefit others, I'm too lazy, I can't, I don't have the qualities, I'm not intelligent or whatever, then this can lead to like a more depressed kind of state, right? Or a disheartened state. So at that time, just thinking, we're all the same, and that doesn't really help your situation. In fact, it can make you feel worse. So at this time, you actually need to recognize your positive qualities, right? You need to really kind of recognize your strengths and your positive qualities and develop this sense of self-confidence or a kind of pride, if you like. But again, the motivation is different, right? So in the West, we now talk about like, I don't know, developing our energy or having all this energy. So, you need to kind of build up your energy. You've got to do it for yourself. You can't like just plug yourself in the wall or something. You actually have to kind of, build up your own self-confidence and energy.
today ngaje gombe yundin she chesanda ngaje today gomna yundin kare teta guna thagwa yis dag yundin tweni ni pau puta ga ji ji na ni yos chesanda manzo nyame yo ma sta manzo peche de ngala yundin de yo ngala hago de yo samtang de asu le pede su yundin su ge sim su le yundin yo wa to de ji ngoro yoro tang na zo dana yabu mangu yoro yabu samdang ane susu pe kane pe de luji pevudang maya de susu sing kane pe digi do maya de yore sa
rangi nyanden okay like
susu ta good quality de mo simba yina ane digi do console me ana to se ra ane de susu kaje de yore sa ta de energy full cha ta
charging up, right? Okay, what do we got here? So now this brings us to verse 152. So the benefits of having meditated on it. So it goes here. Thus, upon hearing my good qualities that have been made well known to all, I shall thoroughly enjoy the satisfaction of the pleasant tingling sensation that occurs. So basically, when you kind of recognize how super awesome you actually are, you get this experience of like your hair standing on end, right? Does that make sense to you guys? We have that expression, right? Like I'm pretty.
I've never felt that awesome. I don't get that from myself. No.
You don't recognize. You don't get caught up in the sound of your own awesomeness. No, it doesn't happen. Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, if you did manage to get caught up in the sound of your own awesomeness, then you'd get this sensation like your hair standing on end, right? But the point being is when you recognize your positivity, your positive qualities, then this is like fully inspires you or fully energizes you. So it's like, your battery's on full charge because you're so awesome. That's kind of the idea.
competition je Olympic na sek da marani do duzule yodi pabudang kani ro
right
that's sek da mus college yaver nerwa de pabudang de yor.
Okay, so like if we look at like professional athletes, like Olympic athletes and things like that, when they have a victory or when they're competing, they get that kind of sensation, right? That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Because of they've strived so hard, they've worked so hard to kind of train, and then when they succeed, they get that kind of like super kind of awesomeness. I don't know.
Olympic or meditation teaching competition
What, a meditation competition?
Oh,
What, the meditation Olympics? Really? Okay. So if you guys... Really? Meditation Olympics?
One day coming.
Okay. So if you kind of like get if we can enter into the meditation Olympics, and I don't know, you're like...
I think
It'd be pretty boring to watch. Come on, really. It's like, and from New Zealand. Oh yeah, okay. The Tuma Olympics, that could be interesting.
One day coming. Very good.
I don't know.
Then most people white out. Otherwise, most people sleeping now. I think no much chance. Most people demand very close. Just draw.
How do you know who wins?
Huh?
It's like first one to enlightenment, or how do you know who wins?
You see, how practice, how long, up like that. Some people do in the wood, rope, some play a little bit.
You were listening on something last night, I think. You listened to that brain, is it?
Yeah.
And so this Geshe was listening to this scientist, and he was saying, or professor of scientist, and he was talking about these Olympic level meditators. That's what they're calling them, Olympic
Right.
level meditators, and no matter what their situation, they've constantly got this super high level of these gamma, whatever they are. You know,
Right.
so, but in other words, they're incredibly, happy,
All the time.
well-being all the time.
Right.
So they can measure that.
And their brand, what the situation, their brand is very stable.
Mm.
Yeah.
If they put brand, nothing meditation people brand easy to changing. Meditative people brand is very stable, like that. Then show in the brand how to call it like that. Grouping. One day coming soon. You need preparation.
Start training now. Chandrakirti. Here we come. We'll show those Aussies how to meditate. You Aussies think you can meditate? I'll show you.
Sometimes we talk group meditation, sometimes single meditation.
Meditation relay. Synchronized meditation, that would be pretty easy.
Because you some tradition in Europe, bit in this period in the Europe, Europe.
Yeah, when they fly.
Yeah. Live maybe live some 5 seconds, 1 minute, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and come back.
In the 6 yogas, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Some. They stay here now.
But it's secret, yeah.
Secret practitioner, you are not sure, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to show it. And then very difficult. They have lost Oscar, right?
Yeah, no.
They're keeping very secret practice. How to make meditation game of Olympic.
We'll have to plan it out, Gishna.
The conference would be all. On in the medicine, Wisconsin University, right? University of Wisconsin. There to take some yogi, and yogi said the modern scientists they take lots of blood, and put lots machine, and they meditate, and they see their body lots of channel cut. He said, he built again new channel. He said they cut lots of channel because so everywhere put they take lots blood and put lots things, and he look at his body. He lost the channel cut. He said, what is this moderation? I don't know. He said, how many take blood? Blood will become body becomes slowly, And then he said very hard work, he takes time to build a new channel, I think and finally he got some 2 more practice like that. He said, first he come to Dharamsala to Delhi in the taxi lots moving. He have lots of woman,
Yeah.
This is make body very weak.
Yeah.
And in airplane, India to US, how many 24 hours, something like that. And then nothing there. One day, no, let's just direct go to in the hospital. Take this. He said, this is really crazy, And he said very difficult. People don't understand. Just similar looking animal. No compassion, No thinking care, how people stay in the mountain, nothing to do with connection. There lots of woman there, and 24 hours in the airplane. Then direct take in the hospital, take blood. This is not really good, isn't it?
No.
Not really good.
But still, he managed.
Nowadays, lots of people are afraid they're joining modern sound. They're just thinking fam and name, not thinking people, you know. This reason, lots of people are afraid now.
Right.
They saw the history, you know. He said he the body lost cut the channel.
Hmm.
So how was it possible to cut the channels? How did they
Take
cut
it.
the channel?
Taking, I think this channel is taking lots of blood
Right.
and put their lots, you know,
Like they put needles and probes and all sorts of kind of.
lots put it here. You know, unbelievable machine.
Yeah, I think the maybe the electro energy blocks the channels and stuff.
And this very strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wallace or something like that. Strong, no?
Yeah, especially if you've just been sitting in the mountains for like. Must be quite weird.
내 리저 안가 토름 he never accept me. I not go there, you know, because other yogi he is very high. He see his body situation. I think he's in a high realization. It's there was a gomge ne 지내체 공부 내서 도착돼 공부도 배 쪼고자 쪼고쇼시
Come again.
공부장은
Right.
주주 시를 까마정하는 주주 시 뒤중한 저는 주주 시 공부장은 까마정하는 리고 근데 수고 양모차고 배 쪼고.
Okay. So like you get certain cities when you can meditate very well. So like you can like I guess run or walk super fast. So what would take us normally 4 hours to walk, yogis can do in like 15 minutes. So you get like super fast
Did
walk.
you see the Melrose movie? They have one person. He had one, isn't it?
Yeah, they had.
He called the 강조.
Yeah,
이제 라마지 어디 멜레르베 난다나 sö도 가지.
right.
어디래 그래?
Yeah, so if you watch the movie, I've seen it, of Milarepa's life story, there's one example of this.
어디를 강조라 그러. 공부 짜고도 여기 띵이지 또 차고.
Right, yeah. When you have certain concentration, you get this city of, like, I don't know, super fast running. So they have the special effects in there where the guy just goes,
I have one friend in Sarah Monastery. He come to Tibet to India and he took more than 1 year. And he has some friend, one Lama. And he later he recognized, before he don't recognize this Lama looks no more monk, you know. They've been together. And he saw this monk had a special power, you know, a special power. And then one day in the mountain, they all food finished, you know, food finished. And then everyone very hungry, and he said, everyone wanted momo, you know. How can making momo? We nothing all finished, you know. He said, I can buy, you know, I can buy. Someone said, this is very cool, you know, we are hungry, we need some food, you know. And he said, you wait just 30 minutes, you know. You wait just 30 minutes. And he disappeared, you know. 30 minutes after he bring momo. This momo come from Lhasa, some restaurants, momo. There are some people, he recognized, he friend. Oh, this momo looks tastes some Lhasa restaurant. They took 2 days walking, you know, walking. He 30 minutes other day, he bring momo, you know. He said, maybe there's some magic, you know. And they a little bit doubt he friend, I think this is a very special person. And 7 months after, then they are in the area in Tibet. And they made a 3 monk come. And he said this morning, today we not go this area, we go this area. There we met some special guests, you know. Usually their plan want to go there, some different place. This is no, we not go there, go this area because we met some special guests, you know. Then they're walking. And lunchtime, and 3 monks they met together, and the one monk, Derek Foster, he saw Derek Foster. This is one monastery abbot, and this monk is this monastery is Tugu Lama. The abbot knows this. They never met before. Abbot knows that, you know. Abbot has some dream. Is a message. He said, "You are our Lama." You know. He said, "No, I'm not your Lama." And Abbot cried, "Yeah, you are." Then the monk, 25 monk or 10 nuns, something like that. They big ceremony. Waiting for him. No question. He put in the throne, and there was the, and Abbot just make him Lama, you know. And he accepted. He said, yeah, this reason I come here. Now then he talking in the throne. Yeah, I have some message. This reason. Then he talking and lots of teaching. And he has this lineage, fast walking like that. And he teach my friend something. And he said, first need concentration some level. If you don't have concentration level, no chance. And my friend tried some concentration. Yeah, he said, nothing, first level, nothing. And there's a Lama said, you know chance. And one nun, she has some concentrations, accommodating the 8th level, you know. One nun.
Wow, that's good.
And then he teach this nun. And they teach these practice. And this nun go. And then one day he said, now you go Lhasa by Momo. And then he sent this nun in Lhasa, exactly same Momo thing. This, before he bought in Lhasa some restaurant, you know. This nun bring Momo. Then he said, oh no, wow, this is he wanted this back. Then he said, this Lama said, no, you know that. It's funny, you know. He has lost a very interesting story, my friend. He texts me 1 year he's been Lama together. And this Lama is amazing. They know lots, future, and they know other people, man, you know. Everything he knows. He's very. And then he said, now you know stay, you go back India, you need to start. And this Lama decision go to Sera. And this Lama said, I'll not go to India, no much benefit. If I go India, maybe I'll live just 3 months. I may live in Tibet, I live maybe 2 years, you know. Maybe some benefit to live long here. And he lived in Tibet 2 years after he passed away. And my friend and other friend said, and Lama said, other friend, there are two monks. And you need this prayer, otherwise you have big problem. And he didn't do this prayer, then he has some TB, you know,
TB, yeah.
TB.
Tuberculosis.
Yeah, he goes and he's very weak. I met him, he's my same classmate. He all handled like that. TV making, you know. Before he was a very strong monk, and he TV making, he's a very tiny person. he handles like that, you know. And we did lots of this exercise for him, you know. And now he handles like that now. And this Lama already told him, you need this prayer, otherwise you big obstacle coming. You know. He not do power for us. You know. This Lama is amazing. Right?
Mama Lama.
Momo Lama. You don't need to make a Momo.
Yeah, this is easy. Just go walk to Lhasa. It's easy.
Yeah.
Do they have fast boat as well? Can you walk on water?
Yeah.
Really, on
Yeah,
water?
yes.
So can go here to Lhasa, come back?
Yes,
that's
I
good.
can. You know, their history, their story. One teacher, he has 7 students at our Pembo area. And teacher was sick. And teacher said, I need some medicine there, especially Arura medicine.
It's like a flower.
Only had in South India, Arura.
This area, Arura,
Arura,
is one place in South India. That?
No, two medicine named Arura.
Oh, okay.
No, one, this is very. I saw this tree in the Sarah area had this big tree. There's and similar this. This is best medicine some disease.
Okay.
And this Lama said, I need Arura too in the tree. One day, I need someone go. Usually there are 6 students. There's some realization. It was prayer, and one old tin cooking, serving with combo student. And the teacher said, announced, who's go in India? I need one day Arura pick up in Tibet, our area. And nobody volunteered, And this symbol among his cooking, serving, he said, I will go, Everyone shocking. Are you okay? No, yeah, I can. The morning he went, evening he come back, and he bring this medicine. And give him Lama. And on the mountain, he's there in the mountain. Nearly sunset gone. In Tibet they have this some slingshot,
Yeah.
slingshot. And he put this medicine in the slingshot and throw this Lama god. And the logo deity become jealous. And logo deity give him lots problem. He had logo deity lost competition. And then there's a lot of history like that.
Right.
And we may countries to in South India one day come back.
Very fast.
Yeah, but no
It's
need
pretty quick.
visa.
Like the border patrol.
No need ticket. No need border check. It's very cool, isn't it? Yeah, there is something like that.
Can people see them? Like,
I think there was like that. Very fast, right?
It's pretty quick, yeah.
Similar, wing. Funny, he thinking is very slow walking. We think very fast. Exactly our meditation, exactly same. Some people have meditation, we thinking 2, 4 hours, 6 hours. They think just 50 minutes, Similar this. We think walking very fast. There, I think looks similar normal. Not much different, right? Just mind, different mind. Power.
It's a little different.
This is amazing, isn't it?
yeah, because talking about Olympics,
You are the John. Yeah.
because nowadays the sport that they free dive with the whole breath and then you dive in the water, and now they reach the point they can hold their breath with 20 minutes.
No.
Yeah, and then they actually meditate for hours before, because I was watching and I was interested to practice, and so they meditate on brain that you don't need oxygen, and so they can drop the carbon. So your brain check the carbon dioxide level, and then they meditate that say they don't need oxygen for that 20 minutes, and then they meditate for hours, and then they do the breathing exercise, and then they go down. So it's similar, because people, if you tell people you don't need to breathe 20 minutes, they wouldn't believe, but now the sports people doing it like 3
Wow.
hours. But they do meditation. That's an interesting point. They don't, yeah.
Beyond this competition, Olympic meditation.
Yes.
We have one volunteer person. I teach you some method how to build stove long live. No beating, it's just concentration. There's some different methods. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. We don't know lots of realities we don't know now. Still learning lots. Amazing. This is mind power, what? Mind power. We don't recognize mind power.
8:15.
다 되네 제가 숨바 봄에 주에 냠
I forgot where we were. What did we get up to? 1:52. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is 1:53.
야,
Thanks.
저에 냠는데 제가
Gomne Choa Nyamba.
봄에 저에 냠스는 다 단다디 마제 곰데 아니 마제 봄에 될 냠네 저에 봄에 냠네 시주들 냠스란데 지디딜라 아니 예 계랭아니 레제나 딜라 소와 잠지나 다그도 딜란자 지디딜라 세다 노다 예와예 계리디 마디 신제 탐제 동에 세워서 받레체나 딜라 세고가 소와 소리 진지어서니 다기 니베도 진이와를 나와서 어디다 다 지디 와서서 아 스스라 세다 노다 거다 근데 스스로 니데나 다디 아니 semjenamda semje shenla dungye seya chedu ane chegi thola thowa da tunyin jaya da kondola susu nuba khaan yowa susu la kuga khaan yowa kadu obojuna disara ko obojuna khaan yowa de ane dela ya logo cheje da kanda ni da nyamne chore sa da kanda ni shewe.
Okay. So now we get to verse 153, the way of acting upon having done the meditation. So even though he has some possessions, if he is working for me, I shall give him just enough to live on, and by force I will take the rest. So here the kind of the meaning here is that whatever wealth or possessions or things that we have, right? The purpose of this is to clear the suffering of others, to eradicate the difficulties, problems, and the suffering of others. So whatever opportunities we have to help others, then we must utilize that and take that opportunity.
어디와 미션달 수수 직세리 거리 가래 야가요나 어디 맞제 체대나 아니
Okay.
배도 지도만 와. 당아제만 제외지 신라 팬도 군노요나 수수를 하바 요어디 미션달 파 셰르셰라 용구요. 디 맞제면은 디 용투고요다. 맞제디다 용구 말에네 단도 망고라야 제 미션달 앞에 톱치고요. 아니 망고 싸지 수수 지고냐 좀 내고라. 다 되면은 아니 밀에 셰르셰도 용구요. 디 체나 아니 지바다나 수수 롱제 침보야 다 담년자요야 다 두서 고마르 삼로 고노 메나 용고다 수수 맞으면은 미신다 때도로 발로 나도
Any konlong kariyo?
고노니라다 수수 담다
Oh, right,
게다
right,
좀
right.
잘 고노 메나 게다 좀 잘 그래
Right.
롱제 침보야 게다 메나 지바다나 롱제 용고로 하고 어디 용고다 되버디 용고로
So, you know, when we have this attitude wishing to benefit others, right, then whatever qualities we might have that others may not have, or whatever possessions or wealth, or whatever it may be, whatever way we kind of have something that others don't, then we shouldn't look at this as a reason to have pride, right? But rather as a way, as an opportunity or a way to benefit others. Because if we kind of generate like a kind of pride, I think we're better than other people, then that immediately leads to like this competitiveness and this conflict and you know, difficulties and things like that. So rather we should use this as an opportunity to benefit others. So, you know, in things like, even though if we don't have the motivation to get like a renown or fame or wealth or whatever it might be, still, if like it will come. Like if we practice generosity, then we will get wealth, whether we might wish for it or not. It'll still, we will get the positive result.
맞제도 되게 이미 삼아서 맞제도 되게 이미 삼아들라 다 하려고 그래서나 되네 되네 냠차시 다음에 뭐다니 change 냠래기 되어래 냠버치 냠래스도 다 레로레로 냠래 레로 제대위나 아니 디기 용어 말하다 뭐도 레로스도 레지 제대위나 연대 용어 말에 디기의 용어 말에 벤저 용어 말 참아있는 다 냠로 아 근데 맞제베체 아니 게 심지 신이 동행 아 켜트려 치드 아니 심지 신이 동행 내가 세야게 치드 땅에 가리는 직접으로 아 미생게 디게데 심지 현재와 딩기 생게 디게를 삼는 숙점 못하면이나 다 생게 동해서야 디게 줘야 되는데 스스로게 간우진유게 배네 자원들의 숙제다 배전치로 왔어. 근데 배전 마셔베시지 아니 nhập도 치지 내대위나 아니 연대야 게줘야 말에 벤조야 게줘야 개개 요 말에 스타간다. 어디 시고다.
So this gets us to the first part of verse 154, contemplating the disadvantage of lacking such a pride. So his happiness and comfort will decline, and I shall always cause him harm. So, this is talking about this attitude of laziness, right? If we have this attitude of laziness or despondency or something like that, then this means that our qualities and our happiness will always decline, right? We won't be able to develop any positive qualities. We won't have peace and happiness. However, conversely, if we take this, feel inspired or driven to actually eradicate, clear away the suffering of others and establish the happiness of others and strive towards that, then we get tremendous benefits. So the point here is that we shouldn't be lazy and just kind of think, it doesn't matter or whatever, and just not, because if we have this attitude, then we'll never develop or improve our positive qualities.
I think you need some try, some people have benefits, small thing help, and then you have recognize how making joy.
Mm-hmm.
Joy yourself and the other people. You see like that, and you never become tired, right?
Lasso.
Yeah. I had some experience here, this because, for example, teaching. Before I learning this Buddhism, I never ever had I want to be future, teach other people, I become teacher. Today I'm not really thinking I'm teacher, I'm not thinking like that. Yeah, honestly, I don't have this motivated teach other people. I want to be a teacher, and never ever have this feeling before. Thoughts, right?
Yeah.
My aim is I want to do some practice. I need to understand Lamrim. That's all. This is enough for me. Then I want to do some serious practice. Just this is my aim. Then suddenly I very devoted listening to my teacher, Then teacher taught this to job, Then no choice. I followed the teacher's advice. Then teacher said go there. And 3 years after, I thought I've been here 3 years now. Go back. I will do some continuous plan, And teacher said, now you stay there. Where's the benefit? You stay there, Where's the benefit? You stay there. This is your karma, I think here benefit. If you go back, not many benefit. More benefits just only myself, And here, I think I recognize more benefit, and I teach some people. I understand some people taking my advice, and they're changing their life, their thinking, their less, their suffering. Lots see like that. No one here integrate in this around some people was very good or motivated. They listening my advice, their benefit. I see like that. And then I saw this before a little bit tired, teaching him. I'm not really colored. Enjoyed teaching, I wanted to most practice myself. And now that I'm very enjoyed teaching because I saw benefit them, some benefit people have in their life, thinking they do laws practice and they see they're proving laws in their life, routine practice, and some people, like I see laws now. I've been here 7 years, and this helping other people sincere, in some level like that. And then you never become tired. Now I never become tired teaching. I really enjoy it. I never become tired. Because very enjoy teaching. How many teaching and more exciting. because in some Japanese benefit benefit you more other people like that. there is the 수수기 내가 당부 잉 맵이네 그 팬도에도 통배이나 아니 갈래 잉도 내기도 알아. 잉스는 되게 가서 인도리스키
Yin Sapa. Okay. So yeah, the more when you reflect on your work in this way, seeing how it helps and benefit others, then it becomes very like interesting or very inspiring.
But this I think this mainly is taking your experience is best, best. Take your experience. Sometimes before I met the Buddhism, some situation. That time what kind of your mind, your awareness, clearly your mind. Most exactly same situation. Now you met what is your mind level, what is your thinking, and then this is big difference. Before met Buddhism, after you met Buddhism, same situation and to experience big difference. And then this is where it come from. You check, where it come from. This. Then you recognize your experience, and you see there how benefit in your life. Then some coming inside, feeling genuine or genuine interesting, right?
Genuine interest.
Oh, genuine interest. Oh, you stop here.